through the introduction of Network VC and its associated parties, which are mostly domiciled in Palo Alto, although they do operate outside of that region. So there is two other entities that represent accredited investors and one smaller amount retail investors. And they're a part of this process, and presumably some of them are watching this event tonight. Okay, next slide. Okay, so we just finished the finals for 2022 about 3 weeks ago. I was on that, so this is a new year for us, and it starts at this point in time. And this is the first stage, and there's 3 stages to this. So even though there will be viewers and potential investors watching at each level, each of the 3 levels, as the levels increases, there is an increasing number of viewers and investors, and an increasing number from the US as you get into the stage 2 and stage 3. And so I was reminded in the finals that since 2014, the investors associated with these events have raised almost US dollars $1 billion. I think the amount was in 62 million, by investing directly in companies who are pitching on these events. So we will, the 6 companies will pitch today. There will be a winner that will go on to the second stage, and there's all sorts of these pitches going on in different industries at the same time. And the winners of this first round will go to second stage and to a global final, which will again be at the start of next year. So we wish the 6 companies tonight all the success, and hopefully, or definitely, one will go on and maybe even to the finals. Next slide. Okay. So this is what I was just talking about, the various other aspects of the pitches. The Unicorn event, which is in the top right, is what we're on tonight, but then there's all sorts of other different investors and other accelerators and online databases that can be used to support this whole ecosystem for early stage companies. Next slide. So we have 2 co-sponsors of the event today, both of them domiciled in Hong Kong. And I will introduce the principals of Hong Kong DTech and Neo Health Group, because they're both represented here as judges tonight when we get to the judges session right after Mike's presentation. Next slide. And this is me. I'm the organizer. I work in conjunction with Olivia and the other members of the operational teams of Network VC. I run this event with Neo Health and Hong Kong DTech, and also a fintech event with Ondato, a fintech company based out of London. Next. Okay, so we're getting to the first start. What we try to do in each of these events is have a short, about 5-minute presentation of a topic by someone in the industry that we hope will be of relevance and interest to both the companies presenting and also the viewers. So Mike is also a judge, but I might as well introduce him now since he'll be speaking. Mike Grundy is the CEO and the original founder of Amazon Papyrus Chemicals Limited, which he started, I think, in about the year 2000, and has grown it from scratch to be a very significant company throughout the broader Asia region. So he's someone who has started a company from scratch, scaled it to a large size. But then in more recent years, he has taken on a second role as a director of PRD Angels, which is the next slide, and the topic he'll be talking about tonight. Next slide. Oops.
Yeah, I guess I can stop share and get the time to our speaker.
Okay, so I'll introduce Mike Grundy to you now. who's going to speak for about 5 minutes and give you an overview of the angel investment group, PRD Angels, which he is a director of. So Mike, the floor is yours.
Okay, let me just share the screen. I think you can all see that, yes?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, first of all, thank you, John. Yes, just to give a little bit of hope to some of you people out there that are starting off. Yes, as John said, we started our company in 2020 with no money and with 4 people. Today, we've got 460 people, turnover about 120 million. So it's been a long journey, some ups and downs along that journey, but also very successful and very fulfilling as well.
2020, Mike, or 2000?
Sorry, 2000, yeah, I apologize, yes. I'm also, as John said, a director of PRD Angels. So who are we? We're a team of angel investors based in Hong Kong. We have about, I think we're up to about 35 members at the minute. And let's just give a little bit of a view. We are industry agnostic. We're looking across all industries. We are but particularly focused on Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area of China. And we're looking for companies, obviously, who need some finance to get started, but also where our experience as a team across a large number of different industries. And within our team, we've got some industrial people, we've got lawyers, we've got accountants, we've got medical people. So we feel we've got a very good group of people, depending on who's coming to talk to us. We've got an opportunity to really ask some difficult questions and drill down into these companies. What I find personally is that I might have some questions, but the team as a whole have totally different questions that, and as an individual, you may not think of, or you may not ask. So I think that helps us. We're really looking for companies at an early stage, as I say, who are looking for investment, but also some mentoring and some guidance. Typical ticket size depends how excited we are. Sometimes we get a bit carried away. Normally we're in, I'd say, the 150,000 to 250,000 US dollar. And as with all these things, we have ups and downs, but we've had some pretty good successes, I think, over the last couple of years, even through the COVID period. Okay, I think that's really it. I mean, there's a contact website there, but yes, you can always contact me through LinkedIn or through John if you want to learn more. Okay, John? You're on mute, John.
I just want to focus on the last thing about applying, because this is obviously perhaps one of the most important questions at this point in time. I think you have a particularly online application where companies can, I guess, submit a pitch deck. Is that your preferred or only route, or do sometimes you just make direct contact through a conversation in other ways? I'm just curious about all the ways you come into contact with founders.
Yeah, but by far the biggest way, the most common way, is through direct contact. So contact with one of our members, either it's through businesses or even people reaching out through LinkedIn or something like that. And then we go through a process. We've got a deal committee. So we will have a provisional look at the company and the presentation, and then make a decision whether we want to put it to the whole team or not. So there's a little bit of a filtering process, first of all. Maybe a little bit more detail. We meet once a month, and typically we'll see 3 to 4 presentations at that meeting.
Now, are the PRD Angels a fund that they're sort of co-investing, or are they all individuals where one individual may choose to invest and not another does? I'm curious about that structure and that investment approach.
Yeah, so again, so it is on an individual basis, because different things excite different people. Some people, and for other reasons, may want to stay out. So it is on an individual basis. But having said that, I mean, let's say, there's 35 of us, maybe only 10 want to invest. Quite often we then set up an SVP just to manage that structure. But it is, you don't have to invest. It's not a bit like a private equity where you're in that fund and you are in whether you like it or not.
Okay. And then my last comment will be, I've seen on your website, you have one page where you have photographs and the names of all of those people. So
Yes,
if people
that's
are
right.
interested in following up with Mike or PRD Angels, you can look at that webpage and find out all of the participants there. As Mike emphasized, probably it's more likely a contact will come through personal contact as opposed to the online application. So
That's correct.
That's, thanks for that overview, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Go back. And I see Gaio has snuck in while Mike is presenting. Good to see you, Gaio.
Good to see you, John.
Okay. Okay, so let's kick off and put the slide back up. For the judges, there's one or two who had to excuse themselves last minute, but I'll introduce the 10 and the process of how we'll start off the night and the pitching.
Yeah, just a second. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
I'll just mention for the judges while we're waiting, it's very interesting in that we have 6 companies, but from 5 jurisdictions. And so 2 from Hong Kong, 1 from Singapore, 1 from Sri Lanka, 1 from Malaysia, and 1 from Indonesia. So a very broad and diverse, even among 6 companies. So that was very interesting to see. So let me tell you about the 10 judges. 2 had to excuse themselves tonight, but there's myself. And then starting off with the co-sponsors of the event, which I alluded to before, are Dr. Francois Fong, who is the founder and CEO of the Neo Health Group in Hong Kong. And also as co-sponsor of this event is Mr. Laurent Kohler, who is the co-founder and Chief Business Development Officer of Hong Kong DTech, of course, in Hong Kong. And then nextly, we have Ms. Scarlett Chen, who is the venture capital partner at the Verge Health Tech Fund in Hong Kong. And then fourthly, we have Mr. Roger Du, who is the CEO Emeritus at Q Search in Singapore and involved with various startup platforms and investors as well. We've introduced Mike Grundy as the presenter, CEO of Amazon Papyrus, who is someone who's taken a company from scratch to very large. Very interesting experience there. And then next, we have Mr. James Kwan, who is the managing partner at Soapbox Capital here in Hong Kong. And then Mr. Tommy Sheck, who is the head of capital and corporate developments at Hong Kong Science and Technology Park in Hong Kong. Stanley C, Mr. Stanley C, who's the chairman of Hong Kong Regen Meditech Limited. And lastly, from Serbia, Mr. Gajo Vanko, who's the group chief financial officer of Fashion Union and involved with a lot of startup platforms and investors in the Serbian region. So I did that, but I'd like to give a chance if there's anything any of the judges would like to say or ask now, please feel free. We're couple of minutes ahead of schedule. So if you've got any comment or question to ask before we kick off, please do. Like one of my masters in class investment management, I always walk in and start and say, are there any questions? And there never are. So we're ready to start off. Okay, so let's talk about how the evening will proceed. We have 6 companies, and for the judges, you will have a separate link from the Zoom link that you've got for the Startups Pitching Live marking. And all companies who present tonight, the 6, we ask that you put in a mark from 1, which is the lowest, to 5, which is the highest. And at the end of the event, Lydia will tabulate all the results and find the one winner of tonight's pitching. And I've written to all of you before about, the criteria and things you might want to consider. But you're all professionals in the industry, so we leave you to make your own judgments. Next slide. Okay, now this is the order of the 6 companies tonight, but I'll just mention that Sultaner from Click and Care is stuck in traffic. He's trying to get home. So instead of being the 6th presenter, we might move him along to 7 or 8. We'll just have to play that by ear. But again, looking at the breadth and diversity of the companies, we have Jotbody Hong Kong Limited, Mobio Interactive from Singapore, Happy Mind from Sri Lanka, Click and Care from Malaysia, Flash Diagnostics Limited from Hong Kong, and Tenang from Indonesia. So quite a diverse mix tonight, and I'm looking forward to the presentation. So it's 7:20, which is exactly when we wanted to start the pitch presentations. So if there's no further comments and questions, then I'll hand things back to Lydia to manage the presentation of the 6 companies. We will have, each company will have 5 minutes to present, and then the judges in total will have 5 minutes for questions for each of the 6 companies. So we should run just about an hour.
Thank you, John. And dear startups, I need to remind you that we recommend not to mention any fundraising out loud. So please use our Zoom chat or other channels of communication in this regard. Thank you so much. And let's welcome the most inspiring startups today. And the first startup that opens our pitch competition, it will be Jotbody from Hong Kong. And Rachel, please. I guess the stage is yours.
Thank you. All right, I'll share my screen first. Can you all see my screen perfectly?
Perfectly. You can start.
All right. Greetings, everyone. My name is Rachel, a research scientist from Jotbody Hong Kong Limited. Jotbody is a biotechnology company on the cutting edge of single-domain antibody discovery, production, and functionalization. So a single-domain antibody basically has the same applications as a conventional antibody, but it is 10 times smaller in size. And due to its size, it has improved biological activities such as high thermal and chemical stability, high tissue penetration, easy modularity, and offers large-scale production possibilities. And because of this, they're really becoming a key component in a variety of areas of research, such as therapy, basic research, and medical diagnosis. So the market for single-domain antibody platforms is constantly growing. In 2021, the market size was valued at 132 million USD and is anticipated to reach 700 million by 2028. And in 10 years, it is estimated to reach 9 billion USD as the need for single-domain antibody-based therapies rises due to the increased acceptance of novel therapeutics. And that is why the therapeutic development segment dominates the market, accounting for 45% of the overall market share. We do, however, have competitors out there. The major limitation of the market for single-domain antibodies is their high cost of production, as they can only be produced through the immunization of camelids and big sharks. And currently, the cost of a single-domain antibody from scratch is no less than 30K USD. So at Jotbody, what we have done is we've developed our own small pipeline for single domain antibody discovery to really break down the cost of production and make single domain antibodies affordable to the entire scientific community. We are a spin-off of City University of Hong Kong with more than 15 years of experience in antibody discovery and development. And our team is built up of individuals with deep scientific backgrounds and knowledge. And currently we have 10 staff in total. So we are also the first one to establish and validate a single domain antibody discovery platform based on the local small shark species that are commonly used home aquarium fish. Not only are they more docile, but their small size also offers the possibility for large-scale husbandry and allows large-scale production of superior single domain antibody in a time and cost-effective manner. And our competitors use large shark species such as nurse sharks, which are very, very difficult to work with given their aggressive nature. So in our case, we're actually able to cut the cost of production to up to 70%. We also produce single domain antibodies through the immunization of camelids. And we've built a bond of trust with several farms in Australia where we can find the best livestock, and they have the biggest population of camelids as well. And in order to produce high quality antibodies, you need to start with an excellent livestock. So if you compare our own camelid derived products with our competitors, there's a cost saving of up to 50%. So today, JobBody has 2 operating sites, one in Shenzhen and one in Hong Kong. And we've been on the market since 2021 with the support of grants provided by the City University of Hong Kong. And we're also part of the IncuBio program. And ever since 2021, our revenue has been rising continuously, and we envision our numbers will continue to increase over the next few years. We also have an international net of distributors, and we also partner as OEM with leader life science companies. So if you visit our website, jobbody.net, we have more than 100 single domain antibodies available with various applications. And besides that, we also have custom projects for big pharmaceutical companies in China, Hong Kong, as well as overseas. I would like to take this opportunity to really thank our business partnerships and our customers for entrusting us to providing the best single domain antibody services and products. And in the future, the majority of our funds will be allocated for platform upgrades, such as creating a new set of pipelines for conjugated single domain antibodies, as these are the products that are currently lacking on the market. And we want to be at the front line to provide these products as well. Besides that, we will also focus on upgrading our shark-based platforms, as they will be the next generation antibodies for diagnosis and therapeutics. Our funds will also be allocated for team building as well as business development. And currently the total structure of JobBody, including R&D section, has around 10 employees. And given that we are currently expanding our partnerships and distributors, we'll also need to expand the size of our company too. And that is the end of my presentation. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, you're early bird. I like it. So
I'll just mention for the judges, if you have a question, just please press the raise hand button at the bottom, and then we'll try to take all the questions in order. And I see Gaio has come first, Roger second, and Mike is third. So Gaio, kick things off.
Thanks, John and Lydia, of course. Great pitch, Rachel. Well, my question is easy. Can you tell us a bit about your traction as you're an operating business and how long you're been operating?
So our business has been operating since 2021, that it's been on the market. And then what we do is we provide CRO services. And then what we do is we get projects from the various companies or research institutes. And then what we do is we will try to make the products that they request. And I'm sorry, did I answer your question? Or
Traction, you know, the number of users, and of course some revenue development, if possible.
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Revenue development, you know, so far how much, you know, on a monthly basis, do you have some, you know, exponential growth to show us what is going to happen with your revenue in the next year or so? Three
Oh, yes,
year.
of course.
Yeah. You don't need to show me your business plan, just some revenue development in the next period.
Oh, yes. So in the next few years, we envision our numbers to be increasing. And currently, I am unable to give you the exact number, but we do have profits coming in, and we currently have a lot of projects coming in. So actually, in this few years, in this year specifically, we're getting 10 new projects going on with big pharmaceutical companies like Shanghai Pharma and various institutions as well. So yeah, we're really hoping to increase our revenue, but I'm so sorry I cannot provide you with the exact number right now at this stage.
No worries. Good luck.
Roger,
Thank you.
to you.
What exactly do you sell? Do you sell technology? Do you sell services? Do you sell antibody by the gram? What is your intellectual property status? What do you own and what are you filing?
Oh, yes, definitely. So we currently at JobBody, what we do is we discover antibodies and then we sell antibodies to different institutions for their basic research or even for biofarms in order to create therapies for themselves. But what we do is we provide CRO services for us to discover the antibodies that our customers request through the immunizations of animals such as camelids and sharks as well.
Yeah.
What's your patent status?
So our patent status is we do have several products that we've patented. Just give me a second. So currently we have 4 different innovations. So we create like even antibodies against SARS and COVID, and then other products such as EGFP, and which we've patented for right now currently in the scientific community.
Okay, so let's see if we can get Mike, Laurent, and James in the next 3 minutes. Stay on time.
Okay, I'll be quick. Just looking at the source, which from sharks and that, doesn't that create a massive limitation on scaling up any business?
No, because for us, our platforms is that we have built collaboration with Australian arms, and they have the biggest population of camelids. And so what we have is that we do have partners and scientists over there in Australia to immunize the animals for us. And then in terms of sharks, we do have farms in China as well, and they're all kept in like great, all the animals are well taken care of. So we will make sure that we can generate high quality antibodies as well.
It wasn't
So
my question
regarding
wasn't the
this-
quality, it's more the
sorry.
volume. My question was more
The
about volume.
The value?
No, volume, physically the amount you can produce.
I see. Because what's different for our company is that we produce antibodies. They are very, very small in size. They are nanotechnology, and that is why they offer a lot of easy modularity in which we can do large scale production of our products.
Yeah, okay.
And every time, yeah. Oh, thank you.
James, do you want to close off this session?
Yeah, I think a lot of the judges already asked some of the questions I had, but maybe if you could let us know what's the average value of the customers you onboard, dollar value? Would you be able to do that?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Would you be able to disclose the average dollar value every time you onboard a customer?
The number of customers?
The average value of each customer that you onboard.
I'm so sorry. I'm currently unable to disclose that. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, dear judges, and thank you so much, dear Rachel, for a great speech. And I guess we can move on to our next participants, Mobile Interactive from Singapore. So, dear Bekra, please, I want to pass the floor to you.
Apparently, I need to unmute myself before I share screen, or I'm still getting used to Zoom. Are my slides coming through?
Please do a full, yeah, perfect.
There we go.
Okay, and they change.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. My name's Dr. Bashar Saab. Formerly a principal investigator at the Zurich Psychiatric Hospital, and now a CEO and a chief scientist at a health tech company called Interactive. We're trying to establish precision psychiatry at scale. And so I want to dive into this. Psychiatry is hard. It may be one of the hardest forms of medicine, and there's a very specific reason why that is. We're trying to make it easier. That's the main thing that we're doing. We're trying to make this very hard branch of medicine easier. And the revolutionary idea is to introduce objectivity and scalability into mental health care. Obviously, we all know you need scale because of the quantity of people that need mental health care. Right? We're looking at 1 in 8 people, 1 billion people at this moment in time, and over 50% of individuals at some point in their lifetime. This is at the relative level of prevalence as the need for eye correction, right? Just to put it into context. Now, objectivity is a completely different problem, but really, really important. Psychiatry, mental health care is 100 years behind other branches of medicine, specifically because of this problem. So to illustrate, this is Kamini. She's a psychiatrist that we work with. She has a patient, okay, call this patient Sarah. Sarah communicates to Kamini how she's feeling, what she's doing. They maybe have to remind every session what's going on. And Kamini has to question herself, is Sarah actually being honest with her? Or is she able to articulate accurately how she feels? Is she even being honest with herself? And these are some ways philosophical questions, but this is a massive problem. And the current way that we try to get around this is through something called psychological scales. These measures which try to indirectly assess how people feel, but they take a lot of time. They are extremely biased. They are highly subjective, and they hold the entire field back. It is a major problem. Imagine trying to treat diabetes without measuring A1C or glucose, or asking a patient how malignant they feel the tumor is. This is insanity. And so what we have developed at Mobile Interactive is a selfie with a purpose. Through a 30-second selfie video using the smartphone camera, we extract out a number of biomarkers from the human face. We have a neural network that can transform this information into an objective measure of somebody's level of stress. This is a starting point. I'll come back to this later. But stress either directly contributes to or worsens 90% of all disease, even outside of mental illness and CNS disorders. It's a very good proxy for somebody's mental well-being and how well they're responding to treatment. We deliver a bunch of objective data with this type of technique to the psychiatrist with a back-end system without disrupting their workflow. And in some markets like the United States, we even open up a new revenue channel for the psychiatrist. So they obviously are very eager to use our services, and we've shown good traction as a result. So here she can get some objective information. She doesn't have to second guess. She can start the session with her patient, already knowing objectively at least her level of stress, how that has changed since last time she see her, how she's responding to different treatments as a result in an objective way. She can deliver treatment more quickly. So right here, what I'm showing is a large real world study that we've done. We've published many papers on the technology as well as clinical validation of our tools. This is the one that I'm most excited about, because here what we're showing is that we are able to understand what forms of therapy are most effective for each patient. And we can do this in a matter of 2 weeks potentially, because we only need 15 therapy sessions delivered asynchronously on demand, so very conveniently on the phone. And the quick selfie video is done before and after, and it only takes 30 seconds. So we can really bookend every therapy session with this type of measure. Now we have a number of interventions in the pipeline. These interventions are courses that take proven psychotherapy regimens and port them onto the phone so they can be delivered in real time to patients at scale. And we're taking all of these through the regulators and getting reimbursement for them. The first one will get approval in the US, Canada, and Singapore this year. So the final thing that closes this out is the ability for the psychiatrist to, with a single click, prescribe our interventions to their patients, making it easier for them to prescribe our solutions than for them to prescribe a pill. The number of healthcare contracts has been going up steadily. We expect to even double it this year. And then the quantity of data that we're building also. The last thing
I'll mention
with,
30
yes,
seconds if you can
great,
close
great.
up.
So the last thing that I want to close out with is what's in the near future. We can already objectively quantify an individual's level of stress with high accuracy and precision. This is extremely transformative on its own, but we think we can also get valence, which is how good or bad somebody feels, as well as arousal, and how strongly they're feeling what they're feeling, through nothing more than a 30-second selfie video. So this is technology we're taking to market, and we're really excited to keep on with this. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the questions.
Okay. Why don't we have Laurent go first, because he didn't get his question in, and then Gaio, you can go second. Unmute yourself, Laurent.
Okay. Thank you, Sab, for the presentation. Just one quick question. Can you tell us more about both business and revenue model? That's really
absolutely, yeah. So
mentioned.
So in our space, we're considered, in the digital therapeutic space. The greatest barrier to entry is getting the physicians to prescribe the approved interventions. And so our business model is to use our objective tool, because it's so unique, and license that directly to the healthcare providers. So we have hospitals that give us a site-wide license, and the telehealthcare providers pay us per patient per month. This builds up an ecosystem of clinicians that are already using the remote patient monitoring tool. And then as soon as we have approval for a given intervention, we have that one-click prescription method. And so through the licenses and so forth, 2021, we had a little under 100,000 in revenue, so very small, just getting started. Last year, bring on a couple more, got closer to 150, 200,000. This year, we may reach or exceed 500,000 or so in revenues. And that's just from the base platform. As soon as we have the interventions approved, then the revenues scale very quickly into the millions.
Thank you. Just to dig more on this point, you mentioned 100,000, right, and 500,000 for the next year. But for how many users? Or clients, right? Because if I well understood, it's you work with on the medical side, right, with the professional who then use it with their patients. So how is let's say the monthly, or how does it work in terms of fees and
So it depends on the market. In Canada, we're a line item in the operating budget of the hospital, and depending on the size of the hospital, we come in between 25 and 75,000 per year, and that covers as many patients as they want to onboard onto the platform. The telehealth providers, they're giving us between $10 and $20 per patient per month.
Okay, thank you.
Gaio, you're next, and then James.
Thank you, John. Dr. Behar, I really liked your interactive presentation, I must say, especially with that laid back attitude. So my question, I have two small questions. One considers your competitive landscape. So would you tell us a bit about your competitors? With who do you compete? And my other question, which would be just a small addition to what Laurent previously asked, it's not going into direction of revenue development and traction as well. It's more like, can you tell us how far you moved with your FDA clearance? I mean, your FDA approval, and
Sure.
that would
So
be pretty
our-
much of what I have to ask.
So all our competitors are in the digital healthcare space, and they broadly go into two categories: some that specialize in computer vision techniques to try to do what we're doing, and then others that work on the therapeutic end. So these courses that can be consumed at scale. Now, there are no other companies that combine the both currently, but nevertheless, they are competition. But we think that combination is much more than the sum of its parts, because it provides us with a specific go-to-market strategy that no competitors have attempted, at least to our knowledge, to date. So some of their names would be Click Therapeutics, Pear Therapeutics, which is really in trouble now, Akili Interactive, and certainly on the therapeutic side. In terms of the FDA clearance, so we are right now expecting in a couple months to get the breakthrough device designation status for our first intervention, which specifically targets cancer-related post-traumatic stress. This is pan-cancer. The FDA has agreed to that. And as soon as we have this, we'll use this as our starting point to then go after Canada and Singapore, other markets. And we're launching now a clinical trial in Taipei with Taipei Medical University that's doing the Chinese version of this very same intervention. And it's also already been clinically validated in Portuguese, so we got a lot of traction there.
Okay,
Thank you very much. Let's connect after the event.
Great.
James and then Francois, and for last two questions.
Great, thank you. I like your presentation. But I did have some questions regarding biometrics. Right now it's getting very advanced, but it's also becoming widespread. The barrier to entry coming into this space seems like it's shrinking a bit. How would you protect your company? I mean, maybe talk about your IP, what would separate you and what would protect you for future entrance into this market?
Yeah, so our approach is to, I mean, sounds naive, but to be better. And you can be better in the space if you apply a different methodology. So I've always said that computer vision has a lot of computer and very little vision. And I don't mean it doesn't have purpose or an idea of where to go. What it's lacking is the utilization for how the eyes actually work, because how the human eyes work is very, very important. So we engage in neuromimicry and try to allow the computer to interpret things in the same way that the human brain does. That's one of the advantages of my background in neuroscience. The other really important thing is the uniqueness of our data set. It may seem like a subtle point, but because most of the interventions that we deliver are based on meditation techniques, we know the degree of experience of individuals. And the more time people spend meditating, the better they get at subjectively quantifying how they feel. And the reason why that's important is because at the end of the day, you always have to train the neural networks back onto some subjective data. So the better that subjective data are, the more accurate your neural networks will be. And I think that's why we're the only company that can claim that we have a medically relevant measure of stress that can be used in the clinic.
Okay, Francois, why don't you close out the questions for this company?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic. I've seen some of the clinical research that you put on your website, and it's about mindfulness. Yes. Number one question is, do you have a psychiatrist on your team? And number number two is, I saw the scale of the clinical trial is fairly small. There are less than 100 people in each clinical trial. Are you planning a larger scale clinical trial to show its effectiveness? And also number three is, when you talk about precision psychiatry, I'm a little bit concerned about the word psychiatry because it seems to cover a very broad area, while a lot of the work you're doing is on stress level, on anxiety. Probably a better word to use is perhaps mental health rather than using the word psychiatry. They're just my thought.
These are three good points. So the first one, yes, I mean, we work with 60 or maybe close to 70 now psychiatrists from all places in the world. That's extremely important in how we actually prepare the content that we produce. As well, I'm a former principal investigator from the Zurich Psychiatric Hospital, so I have my own personal background in the field. In terms of the number of participants in our clinical trials, you always begin with smaller trials to identify feasibility and then efficacy. So for the intervention that we expect to get breakthrough designation device status from the FDA, we are now running a 345 patient pivotal research trial just at 6 different sites in Canada, and that will be augmented in a partnership with a major private insurer in the United States with a second 450 participant group from City of Hope Memorial Hospital and Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York. So yes, I mean, this is fundamental. You have to increase the sizes of these things as you commercialize. And then the final point about precision psychiatry, I completely agree. In fact, we're broad in mental health. We have an intervention that's very important for pediatric traumatic brain injury, which is maybe, outside of psychiatry on its own. So we should broaden it. The reason why we use the term precision psychiatry is because that's a common term in the space. And I personally think it sounds sort of sexy, and of course it's my background. So, but your point is well taken.
Okay, for the judges, even if you're not entering your marks on at the end of each, please make a note of them. You'll have a couple of minutes just at the very end to finalize the results, but don't lose track of that process as well. Okay, and on to our next company.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for Vika for your pitch. And I happy to introduce you to our next participant, number 3, Happy Mind from Sri Lanka, and Kushan, who will be represented. Please.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah,
yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, so my name is Kushan. I'm the founder and the CEO of Happy Mind. Essentially, we are a communication and a booking platform for mental health practitioners. Before we get into the product, the nitty-gritties of it, let me first tell you what we are trying to solve in the market. The first issue that we're trying to solve is that from the COVID pandemic and also the aftermath of it, the economic fallout in a lot of markets, a lot of countries all around the world has caused a lot of mental health disorders or mental health cases to rise up. And also the stigma and also the pros of treating mental health has come up, and also the stigma has come down to a certain range in terms of the late millennials and also the Gen Z. The new younger generations are much more open towards seeking mental health help. Secondly, there isn't a proper and a convenient, secure online platform to cater to the growing demands of the mental health services. There are quite a few, but again, they are not very patient-centric, but in much more focused on ranking up the numbers in terms of the patients against the therapist. And also the available platforms promote text-based counseling over video therapy. One of the biggest reasons for this is that a therapist can handle about 30 to 40 text-based counseling patients, but they can probably handle about 10 to 12 video consultations if you look at the limit of a therapy. So when you look at it, you get more revenue if you base your entire service on text-based counseling. But the reason is there's a lot of studies published on this also saying that text-based counseling is not effective at all. Because when you send a message to your therapist on a Friday, they'll be replying to you again on the next business day when they sign in. So it's not very effective in terms of treating patients in terms of mental health. And also one thing that I need to mention is that we are not focusing on psychiatric side of mental health. We are only focusing on the CMDs, common mental health disorders. So those are the things that you can sort out or recover from through talk therapy. And our solution is we spent about 2 years researching our top competitors, BetterHelp and Talkspace. We have used their platforms, we have spoken to their therapists and also patients, and we have gathered a lot of information we have learned a lot from their mistakes, and we have created a platform that is in par with global standards like HIPAA and GDPR, HIPAA US compliance, GDPR European, and we are only focusing on video-based therapy. And also the product will be localized on each market that we go into. So you can't be talking to, if you're a Sri Lankan, you can't be talking to a therapist from Australia, because of course there's a lot of cultural backgrounds, lifestyle changes, a lot of things that come into play here. So it is very important that we have local therapists to for that specific market that we are going into. Thirdly, we have a specific section called Happy Corner, which is dedicated to mindful content that is going to help our patients during their mental health journey, and also to make sure that they are in the right headspace after therapy also. Why should you invest? Again, as I said, going back to the first problem that I spoke about, it's the right time. The cases are rising up. And we have a platform that is better than, I can confidently say it is better than our global competitors, BetterHelp and Talkspace. And also our platform is patient-centric, patient-first driven product. And as you say, the business side of it, the market is very big, and it's projected to grow at a really high rate. If I have time during the questions, I would like to show you the platform, but we are looking at 1 million USD angel round for us to function for 30 months to acquire Sri Lanka, Australia, and Singapore corporate accounts, B2B solution, and customers in Singapore and Australia. Right now, in Sri Lanka, we are about to test the market. We are planning to launch in the next 2 months. We have already 5 large corporates and 50 therapists signed up at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Who is first with the questions? Mike, kick us off, and then Roger, then Laurent.
Could you just explain how you get the revenue? Is it the counselor that pays you, or is it the client, the patient?
Yeah. So basically, we have given complete autonomy to the therapist to dictate their prices. So for a single session, we will get a 15% commission from each transaction. And we have subscription plans also for each therapist. So from a subscription plan, we get a monthly, that's a monthly renewable, auto renewal. So we will get 10% from each transaction for a subscription plan.
And the payment goes to the counsellor and then to you, or does it come through your platform?
No, through our platform. First to us, and then at the end of the month, their amount will be deposited to their accounts.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Roger.
How big is the Sri Lankan mental health market right now, and what is your revenue projection per corporate client?
Corporate, we are looking at, we have made a level of 2,075 rupees average revenue per client. On average, from a corporate, we are looking at onboarding 500 employees. So we have, that's 2,500 users from the 5 corporates we have already signed up at the moment. And we are pre-revenue. We are Sri Lanka, to be honest, I think the first question that you asked is whether Sri Lanka is a big enough market. Honestly, no. We are doing it in Sri Lanka because we have more control. I'm Sri Lanka, my team is Sri Lanka. We have connections with these corporates. So it's basically a test market for us. We want to test this for 6 months and then explore into much more denser markets like Singapore, Dubai, Australia, where there's a bigger market to it, and also the markups are much more higher than in Sri Lanka, because in Sri Lanka it's quite cost effective in terms of mental health, but the other markets that I said, the relatively therapy is quite expensive.
Laurent and then Francois. two more questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Kushan, for the presentation. Just a quick question about, risk. You mentioned that, okay, in Sri Lanka, it's easy to control. You are there, that's, your country and all. But, what about first, how do you verify, like each practitioner or therapist, if they're like legit, that they have the right diploma and everything, right? So that you don't have anybody that onboard the system being as a fake. And, and also how, regarding the revenue, when you see the payment, right? How are you sure that the person is invoicing exactly what is being invoiced and not being paid, like in cash, in the same time, to then minor the impact of your commission? Do you have any safeguard, on that level,
Yes, we do. Actually, we have two types of patient accounts. We have the B2C option where you can go and create an account by yourself. But again, the B2B account, that will be a bulk upload from the admin side. So if you sign up a corporate, all their emails or their IDs, their employee IDs, all will be provided to us along with their contact details and all of that. That will be uploaded to our system. And then the corporates have the autonomy to select certain therapies. So for example, Gesha and Sirivardhana here, a therapist that they can book with. And they can probably name these are the 3 therapists that our employees can book from. Because as I said, again, from therapist to therapist, the amounts are different, because it's not a we don't want to do a certain one fee for all, because that's unfair, and that's one of the reasons that these bigger competitors are failing, because it's a very academic, professional and academic industry when it comes to mental health. And the higher your experience is, the higher your fees would be. So we have facilitated that through our platform. And I hope I answered your question. We do have tracking capabilities, and everything will be invoiced and double checked from our platform, which is automated from the backend admin panel.
Okay, so let's close off with the last question from Francois.
Thank you, Kushan.
You're on mute, Francois.
Yeah, well, 2 questions. Number 1, going to Australia, which already has a very established telehealth service on mental health. What's your competitive edge in getting into Australia? And also, what would you anticipate the cost of entering the market? How quickly do you think you'll become profitable?
I think the medium or the road, the strategic route that we are trying to take is to localize the product as much as possible, because as I said, we have learned from the global players that we have, and the problem of the ability, I think it comes down to a very simple point, whether the therapist can relate to the patient. So we want to make it localized as possible. So if we are going to Sydney or we are going to Melbourne, so we'll be looking at localized sections before instead of opening up to the whole of Australia. So in that way, we can understand the market and also have a very special connection. So we are looking at is a mixture of online and offline connection with the community. So we might have a mindful events for corporations, or we'll have yoga classes. So we'll have a lot of offline events to connect with the community. So we want to build a long-lasting platform and have long-lasting customers, or I would like to say patients, because we do believe in the social prescribing method, because that is very much needed to treat patients. And to answer your question, how long it will take for us to probably break even in that market, I would say probably 1 to 12 months, 1 year for a couple of states in Australia.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
One last question. One last question. What's your split percentage with the therapist?
For a single session, 15%. We take 15% off their total fee. For subscription plans, 10%.
Thank you so much, dear judges, for your questions. And thank you so much, Kohan, for your speech. And dear
Thank you.
all, let me introduce you to our next participant, startup number 4, Clicking Care from Malaysia. And Sultanur, please, if you're ready, you can start, share your
Has he made it back? He was trapped.
Okay, so
It would be better if you give me after some time. In the last, it's better for me.
Okay,
okay,
okay.
so you'll be
so
number
let's,
6. Okay, so then let me introduce you to our next participants, Startup Flash Diagnostic Limited from Hong Kong, and Alan, who will be represented. Dear Alan, the stage is yours. I guess you are mute.
All right. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alan Rodriguez. I am co-founder and COO of Flash Diagnostics. Usually when we take our pets, dogs and cats, to the veterinarian, we expect and actually demand accurate and fast diagnosis. And this is in order to get rapid and appropriate treatment for our little ones. However, there are many situations, for example, infectious diseases, where conventional molecular testing actually takes a lot of time, and the veterinarian is pressured to give a diagnosis based on gut feeling. This, of course, more often than what you think, this leads to inappropriate treatment. It makes the whole process of diagnosis and treatment more expensive and more stressful for the pet owner and, of course, for the pet. And this is because the way to diagnose infectious diseases is basically there are 2 ways. One is using an RAT of a rapid antigen test, or using PCR, which we are all very familiar with after COVID. However, for PCR, it's a test that usually takes too long, up to 7 days, particularly for veterinary applications. Now, it is no surprise that's why it's not surprised that many veterinarians prefer to use a rapid antigen test, because, as we know, it's way cheaper than a PCR. It's faster and it's easier to use. This happens in Hong Kong and in mainland China. However, we have talked to tens of veterinarians in these regions, and all of them, is a consensus, like 70% of these veterinarians would prefer to do a PCR, even after using RATs. And this is because RATs, rapid tests, they are not sensitive enough and they are not reliable enough. And that's why we created Flash Pets. Now, Flash Pets is a disposable palm-sized nucleic acid rapid test that detects DNA and RNA of pathogens with PCR quality results in less than 30 minutes, all of this from the comfort of their office. This is as opposed to waiting up to 7 days if you prefer to do a PCR. And our test is the first in the world to be able to detect these pathogens in blood, feces, saliva, and other complex samples. And it's very easy to use, just as easy as a rapid test, as an RAT. This, of course, brings multiple benefits for the general practitioners and the pet owners and the pets themselves, because it allows for a timely diagnosis and treatment, and also avoid bottlenecks in clinics, which is quite common nowadays. Now, our test is powered by 2 core technologies: Sample Direct, which is our trade secret, which allows us, this is the technology that allows us to detect pathogens in a wide range of biological samples, such as blood and feces. This is something that no other rapid test can do in the world. And the other one is OLAMP. It's our patent pending nucleic acid detection method. And this is a very reliable method because it reduces significantly false positives, and also allows the result interpretation as easy as a rapid test, which is like with the test and control bands. But now, why do we want to get into this pet care market? Well, families and societies are changing. They are bringing more and more pets to their family. They are treating them as family members. And this is known as pet humanization. This is the driver of the pet care market. And actually, only 4 days ago, Bloomberg posted this article saying that the pet economy is expected to grow more than 50% in the coming years. And this is fueled by a rise in the pet adoptions, especially during the pandemic. When it comes to mainland China, the annual spending on pets per household is expected to almost triple in the next 8 years, sorry. Now, when it comes to business, the way we make money is very straightforward. We sell testing kits directly to veterinary clinics and hospitals with non-existent or limited molecular diagnostic offerings. Eventually, they will also sell these test kits to the pet owners for monitoring at home. And under the first stage of B2B model, we are forecasting sales of 8 million Hong Kong dollars in Hong Kong in 2025 and $12 million on the same year in mainland China. Now, the way we plan to get our early adopters is because in order to launch a product, we need to carry out a clinical validation. And we will carry out clinical validation with collaborators in Hong Kong and in mainland that will become the first adopters and then eventually our first customers. Last year, we won 3 awards at the HKUST Sino $1 million competition. We got admitted into the ideation program from Science Park, the Hong Kong Tech 300 Angel Fund. This year, we got into the Tissue program from Innovation and Technology Commission and also into the incubation program from Hong Kong Science Park as well. The team is composed by scientists with more than 20 years of combined experience in the development of diagnostic platforms, patents, commercial devices, actually commercially available devices, diagnostic devices in mainland China. And we have collaborations with multiple local and mainland universities, as well as different local hospitals and clinic groups in mainland China. We're actively looking for industry partners for business development in both regions, Hong Kong and mainland. Thank you very much.
Okay. Questions from the judges? Let me kick it off and try to get in one of my own questions tonight. Yeah, I've read the news of how pet ownership is certainly escalating a lot in some markets, but I don't hear much about who's providing the services. So who is your competition in providing general healthcare services to pets? It's not something you typically hear in a healthcare presentation, the veterinarian side of the business.
Right. So direct competitors doing nucleic acid rapid testing, we don't have at all, not one. There is one company in mainland China called U-Star Biotechnology, and they have a prototype, and we know they're testing it in even in the Hong Kong market. It's not commercially available, but they are very limited in what they can test because they can only detect pathogens in nasal swabs. They cannot detect in feces or in blood. Now, when it comes to indirect competitors, it's all PCR service providers. We can say in Hong Kong, we have 3 main. In mainland China, basically all the providers of PCR equipment and testing kits, they are our competitors. Yeah, but directly for point of care applications, there is not a single one.
Okay, let's go to Mike and then Gaio.
What is the cost of a unit and also the cost per test?
So right now, the first prototype is a single pathogen test. So it's just one test per kit. The kit has a cost of 53 Hong Kong dollars manufacturing, and we sell for 350 Hong Kong dollars in Hong Kong and $110 in mainland China.
And that's one test, is it?
Yes, that's one test. Right now, we're also in the pipeline. We have a multiple pathogen test, which in the same testing device, we can detect up to 3, but that will take at least 18 months of development.
And for this first test, how close are you to launching that?
Right now, we've finished the prototype. We have a functional prototype. However, we need to move into mass manufacturing. We plan to start testing the clinical validation in October this year. So we're giving us 6 months to move to manufacturing. We're keeping a very, very close collaboration with manufacturers. So all of our prototype process is compatible with mass manufacturing. So we expect to launch the product at around Q2 or Q3 2024. That's around 14 months from now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dayo, you're next.
Thank you, John. Great presentation, Dr. Rodriguez. I have two small questions. First, consider your competitive landscape. Tell us who are your competitors and what differentiates you amongst them. And my second question concern your go-to-market strategy after the prototype validation. Can you tell us a bit about that? And I would just recommend, if you're not part of any acceleration or incubation program, it would be highly beneficial for you in the further product development and, of course, product validation process. And aside of that, with financial assistance, they could be quite beneficial in some further stages for you. So feel free to discuss.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the question. So as I mentioned, direct competitors, there is none. In the veterinary industry, there is not just one. I mean, it's also in development. We have talked to tens of veterinarians in mainland China. None of them have heard of this brand. It's called UStar Biotechnology. There are other nucleic acid rapid test companies, especially in the US. For example, Detect is a very popular one that started now during the pandemic. There's Q Health as well. They do STDs, point of care detection as well. But yeah, overall direct competitors, there's none doing nucleic acid testing. Now, when it comes to like the competitive advantages, well, even if those players doing human diagnostics, if they want to move into the veterinary industry, one of the big issues, I would say the biggest issue in the industry is complex samples. So blood and feces is very, very hard to get purified nucleic acids on the spot. And that's our trade secret. We don't even want to patent it because we don't want to disclose at all what the technology is. So that would be one huge, I would say the biggest advantage that we know UStar, they don't have, even they don't have. The other one, the next question is
go-to-market strategy.
Right. So right now we're working with collaborators, which are, we have letters of intent of collaboration with hospital groups. One of them is Ruicheng Hospital Group. They have hundreds of hospitals all across mainland. So what we're going to do is we're going to work with them to carry out the clinical validation with them on the spot, on their clinics. We're going to get all that data. We're going to publish it. Since this is a very unregulated space, we don't need any certification or regulation in mainland China or in Hong Kong. Even in the US, it's not regulated by FDA. Having that data published is enough material for us to start marketing our product. And those collaborators are going to be the first adopters, our first customers, and then we're going to move out from there. Perhaps partner with them to do distribution. Very likely.
Okay, let's quickly close off with one question.
Thank you for your
from
comprehensive
Roger.
answer. Good luck.
Thank you.
Running a little bit over. Roger.
Very impressive. Any plan for retailer and pet owner use of the product? Because that's the more interesting part for me.
Yeah, definitely. Eventually, we would like to get to final users, to pet owners, because they are the decision makers. They decide if we want to use the product or not. The issue with that is, for selling to veterinarians, we don't need any certificate or any regulation. To sell to pet owners, we do. So that's why we consider a B2B2C model. But in the first stage, it needs to be B2B. Eventually, when we get the validation, the certificate, which takes around 18 months, we hope that we can go through this B2B2C, so veterinarians can sell directly to pet owners to carry out monitoring at home. And also perhaps have OTC. You can even do it like through Taobao or things like that. Like right now, we know some companies selling online directly to pet owners for RATs. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Just a reminder, the judge, just make sure, even if you're not putting your scores on the online sheet that you have the link to, at least you're recording them so you can at them very quickly. They'll just be 2 or 3 minutes at the end to complete the process. Lydia.
Sure. And thank you so much, Ellen and judges, for your questions. And I guess we can move on to our next participant, Tineng from Indonesia, and Salma, who will be represented. Hi, dear Salma.
Sure. Hi. Let me just share my screen real quick. Got it. All right. Okay, I'm ready to start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, I'm just going to share the story of the nun. So you can imagine it's midnight. You try to sleep, but you cannot sleep. So you try to call someone, but no one is there. No one is available because obviously it's midnight, right? But also not everyone have a friend that is available 24/7. That's where Tenang comes in. I'm Salma, one of the founders of Tenang, your reliable companion. My background as a psychologist myself, and the reason why I started this company in the very first beginning is to help myself, my colleague, and my clients, because it's very hard to find mental health support, especially in Indonesia, because of the stigma around mental health. Society can judge you a lack of spirituality or just crazy knowing you're going to a psychologist. Second, there's no immediate support, even at night, on weekend. There's no 911 call for mental health, so it's a very burden for the clients itself. With the low number of psychologists available in Indonesia, we understand that we cannot rely on human resources alone to solve this kind of problems. That's why we try to combine the use of technology, in this case AI, to actually solve these kind of problems, to offers a mental health support platform to improve the well-being of young generation in Indonesia that is accessible 24/7, it's safe, it's stigma-free, it's very affordable for everyone because it's using mobile app and it's on the go. We have a big vision for Tenang in the few years ahead. We want to make a well-being super app which make mental health as a part of our lifestyle. It's not a luxury or it's not a nice to have, but it's a must have for everyone. We have AI mental health companion which offer in chat, voice, and also customized based on preference, what kind of friends we want to have, and etc. We also have modern telehealth with video, group support, and metaverse session. Also, variety of self-help activities tools. But we gotta start somewhere at first, right? That's why at first we start with subscription based, which offer 3 features for now. AI mental health companion as psychological first aid. We have modern telehealth by video, and also self-help activities to actually empower users. We're not only serving B2C, but also we're serving some B2B in the very first beginning. From here, we understand that our market actually pretty big. We believe that our market or some values over 100 million US dollar, targeting millennials and Gen Z in Indonesia. And we also plan to serve Indonesia and globally, started by Southeast Asia by 2024. And where we are now, we are currently in year-to-date revenue comes into 8,500 US dollars, still on web base. We are not launching our mobile app yet, but we are happily served over 2,500 sessions for the telehealth. And also our AI companion just started to launch like a couple months ago, and we already got like 1,000 more early users. So it's actually a pretty good start for us for now. We also got early B2B and also some recognition from the government bodies. To actually get this kind of number, we understand that we need a strategic go-to-market strategy. We are partnering with key partners, Ministry of Health, companies, school foundation, universities, also some classic SEO, social media, and also influencer and online offline events. Not only go-to-market strategies, we also have a great team having with us. We have me as CEO. We have our lead AI engineer helping us with the AI itself, also working alongside 90 psychologists from all over Indonesia and 3 advisors with their own expertise. We do have some competitors around the market in Indonesia, but we believe that we are faster, we are cheaper, we are safer. We're basically like the first AI mental health in Indonesia. So this is actually a pretty great space for me. And yeah, last but not least, we're also supported by Microsoft and OpenAI to actually create a great AI in mental health. this is, and last but not least, this is just like a glimpse, a screenshot of how our AI would be. So you can just like rent in our website for now. This is, I created in English as well because it's basically in Bahasa. So you can just type in, it's like your on the go friend. You can always have someone to talk to. You don't feel scared of stigma and judgment and everything. So this is very good for young generation, especially in Indonesia. So yeah, thank you. I'm open for question, discussion, feedback, and everything. Thank you.
Roger, do you want to kick things off?
Yes. So basically it's a chatbot. And what's the legal liability for your platform? Because you're claiming you're serving therapeutic session when people aren't available. That's the first one. Second, when you say you're supported by Microsoft and OpenAI, you mean you use their technology. They're not giving you money. They're not giving you credit. You're using their technology.
Okay.
And lastly, what is the long-term defense for your company? 3 years down the road, how are you going to defend against other competitors coming to this space? Because the barrier to industry is zero at this point.
Got it. Thank you so much for the question. The first one is regarding the liability of the AI itself. We try to make the AI a combination between the technology, in this case, the NLP itself, with a combination of CBT and DBT in terms of psychology. So those who actually create the basic logic for the AI itself is me as a psychologist, and we have also some small groups of psychologists helping us with that. And also the data, not all of the data directly comes to the AI. So we manually for now screen filter the data. So at least the data that is in the AI is actually trained good enough. And also regarding the liability itself, we are not recommending this AI used by people who are actually suicidal. So in the very first page of the website or the mobile app itself, we try to make people like check on the box regarding if they use the AI not in a suicidal condition. The second page is regarding the OpenAI technology. Yes, we use their technology. We also got almost 5,000 grants from them. So that's what we use it for, to initial go-to-market, to actually attract people to actually try this kind of technology. So that's that regarding OpenAI, and also the path to growth. So our plan is that we are focusing more on the preventive side, also the creative side, because this AI can be like a part of your lifestyle. We want to create some kind of customized plan for your self-development in the futures, based on your personality, based on everything, your preference and etc. That's what we have for now. Hopefully it answered, but happy to discuss more after this. Thank you.
James, why don't you go next?
Great. Thank you for the presentation. I think when you probably started building this a year ago, the landscape in AI changed a great deal in the last 4 months. Have your projections changed with it? Because I see that you're projecting 15 million in revenue by 2025. Is that still accurate, knowing what happened in the last few months? And how would you get there?
Okay. Actually, it doesn't change much because we're playing still in Indonesia, where AI players is still very limited actually, because of the resources of human and etc. So actually, it's a pretty good advantage for us to actually grab the market earlier than others. And regarding how to capture the market more is because we're basically like the only 911 call for mental health, and the demand is there. We're surfing the market that is not served by humans. So we believe that we're positive that we can actually easy to get the market, because we have a small community of users as well to actually task to actually refer them to their friends and etc. So that's where we start from, our community as well. Thank you.
Let me ask a different sort of question, because I noticed something very different on your first slide, in that you showed several of the logos of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals at the bottom, and this is a new area for me. I mean, how does a startup company, yours, how do you integrate these SDGs into your business strategy? Do you formally do that? This is something I don't know how people are approaching that. I'd be keen to understand your approach.
Okay, so this is basically how we support the acceleration of the achievement of the SDG itself, because we support, let's say, number 3, which is the good health and well-being, because we offers a more accessible and affordable mental health support. It means that more people can actually get mental health support that helps their life, that makes themselves easier. So the goals of SDG number 3 can be accelerated by our services. That's the main idea of how we support that SDGs.
So it's more that the logos of the 6 specific SDGs reflect outcomes of using your service, as opposed to an input that you use to retool your processes or things like that. Okay, now I get it. Any other questions? Okay, so why don't we turn to our last presentation if Sultana is ready.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, I am ready, and let me try to present my slides. Give me some time.
You're on mute, Sultana. Can you?
Yeah, I'm trying to get the screen on because I'm downloading it from Google Drive. I think it has some issues.
John, may I suggest, if it's not possible for Sultana to present us his presentation, maybe you or someone who assists you could do the
Lydia,
slides.
do you have the slides there? For Click and Care.
Actually, I don't have the slides. Just me a second, I will check. Okay, I have. Just me a second, I will download this. Okay.
Okay.
Let me try.
And the judges can use this moment to catch up on the marking of the 5 companies that have presented so far.
Can you see my presentation?
Now we're there.
Perfect. So please, if you're ready, you can start.
Yeah. So it had so happened that this person's name is Abdul Alim. He bought the air ticket in 2020 during the pandemic, and he was suffering from a health issue, and he made several visits to local clinics in Malaysia. Suddenly he came across a Click and Care Facebook, and he contacted us, and he bought an appointment with us with the ENT specialist with 30 ringgit only, and he could resolve his problem. He canceled his ticket and stayed back. So now he is still working and earning money. And this is the case for many Bangladeshis living in Malaysia. So Click and Care is an online platform for migrants healthcare. So let's talk about the problem. For the foreigners, around 7 million migrant workers in Malaysia has difficult accessing the healthcare due to language barriers. The cost to avail the service is very high for the foreigners. There are a lot of undocumented, even 50%. And the time to travel and book the appointment is also causing them spending money and time. So what we have done is we have developed a platform where the native doctors can talk to a migrant workers. I mean, the migrant workers are able to talk to their native doctors and anytime, anywhere. So they don't have to travel, they don't have to take leave. And so this is reduced and they can talk to their native doctors. So the language barriers are also eliminated. We are covering a lot of SDGs and mainly the number 3, good health and well-being, and then there are other like equity, equality, and all this. So on the SDG side, or also we are very strong. Sorry. Sorry for this, because I'm on the mobile. So we are talking about 1.3 billion market size, and currently we are working with only in Malaysia, which has a $100 million market size, and we want to grow and expand to other Southeast Asian countries and Middle East, where the majority of the foreign workers are working. On the customer journey, this is pretty simple. We have a web-based application. So they can call our call center and book the doctors, and at a particular time they can talk to the doctors. And the doctors, after discussion, consultation, they issue the prescription, and prescription is available on their mobile. And we have a full ecosystem running right now. So we have partner pharmacies. Once we get the prescription, we also quote them the price of the medications, and we supply to their doorstep through our courier partners. Our business model is pretty simple. We have those 2 prepaid consultation products. One is for general physician, and the other is for a specialist. So we give 50% to doctors and 20% to our agents, if any they are working. So agents are basically, we select from their own community where they're residing. So we have around 30% gross profit. We also get commission from our partners like clinic, pharmacies, and courier partners. So on the regulatory side, currently the government is working on the sandbox, and we are happy to say that I am one of the members of the regulatory sandbox. So we are developing new rules, and it will take time. So we are given the chance to test our product on our own regulatory framework. On the competition side, basically only the clinic is our competitor, because where their migrant workers are going, others are focusing on their own people in Malaysia, not foreign workers, and they do not have native doctors too. Traction wise, we started in 2020 as a free of cost service, and 2021 we made some growth. And basically due to the funding, we haven't been able to progress much, but we have come to know, there are a lot of interest shown from the migrant workers, and there are a lot of good stories to share with you as well. We have been awarded for a few occasions. We got MIT Inclusive Award in 2018. And also we got SDG Award by JICA in 2022, and highly appreciated in many occasions. On the marketing side, we are focusing offline, online both, and we are partnering with the remittance providers and also other pharmacies, big pharmacies, and big companies too, where there are a lot of migrant workers. Financial plan, we want to grow further. As I mentioned, we want to grow in the regionally and geographically, and also within the migrant community. Like currently we have Bangladesh, now we want to expand to Nepal and other countries. Going forward, we would like to use more of technologies and IoT and machine language so that migrant workers feel at home and they can easily use our service. We have a very experienced team. Myself, Sultanur Reza, I have been working with telehealth since 2006 in Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Malaysia. And my co-founder, Mr. Rashid, also has been quite a solid experience with microinsurance, which we are planning to introduce. Also, the technology and the domain expert has quite extensive experience in Malaysia. So currently, we are asking for $250K for our product and technology improvement, because we feel if we can develop a native app, it would be easier for us to penetrate in the market, and we also do more marketing, both physical and digital. And operational side also, we want to make a very good team so that we can deliver quality service. So these people has given their sweat to build, these magnificent buildings and infrastructures around these countries. So it's time to really help them and make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Gaia, kick off for this last company.
Thank you, John. I have one short. Reza, nice presentation. My question concerns, since you already have shown us your financial projections in your financial plan. I have seen that you are, around 500, less than 500K in 2022. Can you elaborate more about your current revenue development? When you started with earning your revenue, and 2020, I know, it was COVID, it was difficult, but can you tell us a bit about your financial projections? I mean, about your rationale behind your projections for the next 5 years and so?
Well, as I told you that due to marketing and other things, we could not grow as we have planned. But our projections is built on the number of customers and number of interest zones, and we have visited a number of places. Talking to the customers, migrant workers. So we see that depending, the calculation is made on the basis of number of customers we can handle in a day. So we presume that in the first year we will be able to support 30,000 migrant workers. So progressively we see a year-on-year growth about 15 to 20%, and in 5 years, basically we'll be able to achieve a growth of tripling the revenue. So the strategy is basically number of migrant workers per day we can serve with our the doctor panels we have.
So what's your year-to-date revenue in total till this moment? How much revenue you generated?
Yeah, in reality, in last few months, we have been earning around 2,500 ringgit, which is about 500 plus $. Because as I mentioned that we are not doing any special marketing, just organic. You can say this is organic growth we are having. So if we have, so far we have been bootstrapping. So we are really looking for investors, and then we can have a big bang on our marketing, and we are very confident of acquiring more customers because there is good market of it.
Thank you very much for your answer. Good luck.
Mike, over to you.
Yes, I just want you made the point that there's no restriction on telemedicine or whatever in Malaysia. What about outside Malaysia? What about Indonesia, Singapore, countries like that? Are there restrictions?
Yeah, in Singapore, actually, I made a couple of visits and talking to a few clinics. So in Singapore, they have strict law. So what we have discussed with them that the clinics will partner with us. So our doctors will work as the interpreters. So they can, support. So we will charge them for our interpretation, which will be basically through native doctors. So that's the one model we are looking at Singapore because the law is restricted there. And Indonesia, I don't know, but we are talking to Philippines, which is also possible, and also Thailand and Myanmar. So Myanmar, I was there for 3 years. Myanmar has a very liberal law, so we can still serve there. There's no issue. Thailand as well. But Indonesia, basically Indonesia and Malaysia, they speak similar language. So in Malaysia, the Indonesian do not have that much of a problem in, with the doctors, especially with the language. But even then, there are some dialects which differs. So we have got some doctors who can help us.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask one question. I guess I see a potential imbalance in that, healthcare is not cheap and migrant workers are not wealthy. So there's always a risk that they just don't have the money to pay for the services they need. And I guess it's often a debate in healthcare whether something should be a private good or a public good. I can see your service doing a lot of social good, but I can see there being financial issues in making it work. Is this something that you might explore to try to find some significant government support or from a nonprofit organization that has got other goals than maximizing and focuses relatively more on the social good aspect of a project?
Yeah, John, I think that's we are also looking at, of course. But to be very honest, to share my experiences, money did not have any issue with migrant workers so far because whenever we have approached them, they say, if we can talk to your native doctors, we love that. And we want to do that because we can explain our problem. So just give you an example. For a foreigner to get a service in a Malaysian hospital, it costs you for a specialist 120 ringgit. Okay, and we are charging them only 45 ringgit. So you see the difference. And still that is okay for our specialist doctor in Bangladesh to serve them. And there are two aspects to it. One is they are serving the own people, so they feel like they're serving because they are the main earner of remittance for Bangladesh. Likewise for Nepal and other countries too. So they have a soft corner. So we are basically we got that advantage. And on top of that, they save money not traveling. Because if you want to see a doctor, you have to travel, you have to take leave. So those issues are resolved. So they like it. And so even if it is a bit higher, they're ready to pay. That's the scenario. And the second point, from the NGO or social perspective, there are other companies who are willing to work with us in Bangladesh. Probably you are right. If we can tie up with them, it would be really good. Maybe we can support the very marginal group who are actually undocumented. Right? So they have payment issues, so we can serve those communities. On top of that, we are also talking to micro insurance companies where we can bundle our product and provide the service. So that's also on our pipeline.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for Click and Care? Or if not, I'll ask the judges to make sure they have entered their marks for all 6 of the companies. So why don't we just take 2 minutes now just to make sure that is all complete, and then we can allow Lydia to tab up the results and we can announce the winner of today's or tonight's pitch. While we're waiting for this calculation, I'll throw the floor open to all the judges and just ask, have they any general observation for any of the companies or in general, because at least one company will go on to, if there's a tie, to the next round. Any sort of comments about the presentation, the content, or things that you would just like to make as a general point tonight? Any thoughts there? Roger? Okay, you physical hand up, no yellow hand, physical hand.
Yeah. The presentation are very interesting. One of the things you have to have is, because you're in the medical field, you must demonstrate some protection, and you must have intellectual property, some sort of IP claim, process, or product. And you've got to explain your mechanism in fairly specific way. You don't have to give detail, but you got to be specific for the investor to understand. You can throw words around platform AI and expect that to pass the test, because you are competing in a business area that has very high demand for understanding and proof. So you have to take some of the story out, put more of the specific causal metal in order to create credibility. Quite a few did very well with the insight into the problem, not just the solution. The insight into the problem, like Mobile, the insight into what is the real problem, that was a huge boost to our understanding and our confidence in the solution. Tell us about the insight, not just the solution, because your insight demonstrate your expertise.
Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts. I mean, first of all, congratulations to everybody. I mean, it's very difficult to get over all the years and the that you've put into this in the 15 minutes. John's been pretty tough on you on time, so congratulations on that. One thing that was missing in virtually all of them was evaluation. You're talking about how much you want to raise, but if you're looking as an investor, we want to know what valuation you're putting on your business.
Any other comments? Stanley or Scarlett, sorry. Any Laurent, Tommy?
I guess if we don't have any comments, I really hope you're ready to find out who won our Asia and Healthcare Unicorn pitch today. So dear judges, startups, are you ready?
We're ready.
Perfect. So let me share my screen with the results. So 3, 2, 1, and here, Flash Diagnostic Limited. My congrats.
Okay. Congratulations. Wow. So you will be going on to the next round, as we showed in the introduction. Very, very close between the first two. But thank you all very much for participating. Any last comments from anyone before we close out? If you want to stay online, there's a chat box where you can just share a LinkedIn page number if you want to connect with anyone before we go. Francois, do you have your hand up? You're on mute. Mute.
Yeah, just one last comment. I think we have a lot of health-related startups. And I think one of the things that's very important is about regulatory and compliance for they entering into different countries to make sure you're complying with the local regulation before you get into or start planning. Because a lot of it, a lot of the new stuff coming in with AI, with telehealth, many countries don't have very clear regulatory requirements. So I think that's one thing, if any startup starting into multiple jurisdictions, to make sure they are comply with the local regulations.
Yeah. Any last comment before we sign off for the evening.
Well, I would just like to say thank you. Thank you to all the judges and congratulations to everyone as well. It's a really enriching experience always to pitch, right, to different audiences. So thank you very much.
It's a great sharing of information. We had, as I mentioned at the beginning, breadth and depth of companies from 5 different jurisdictions. And it's nice to see that mix. So my background was originally in financial markets, and I've just moved into healthcare in sort of the last 5 years. So this is always a great learning experience for me. So thank you again for all the effort you put into that, and hope we can stay in contact in the future. Lydia, any final thoughts from Europe?
No, I guess you are all invited to our Unicorn Cup at May 25, and we are always looking forward to see you all, guys.
Looking forward to it, Lydia.
Okay, thank you
Thanks,
all
everybody.
for your attendance, participation. Have a good day wherever you're sitting in this world, and take care. Good night.
Good night, John.
Good night.
Good night,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye to you all.
John,